Aloha, my name is attorney Daphne Barbee Wooten. I would like to talk about my father, the Honorable Lloyd A. Barbee, and I have actually edited his book, and it's called Justice for All, because that's what he stood for throughout his life. He was born in Memphis, Tennessee, 1925. He was the youngest child, and his family came from Mississippi originally, Shannon, Mississippi, which is outside Tupelo, Mississippi. Got the name Barbee from the plantation owner. My father went to historical black college, Lemoyne College over there in Tennessee, and he was head of the NAACP as a youth, and he had a very smart mouth and smart mind. He applied for law school, and some of his relatives had lived in Racine, Wisconsin, and said, why don't you go to law school in Wisconsin? And my grandfather readily agreed because he was afraid that my father would be lynched and killed by the Klan over there in Memphis. So my father moved to Madison, Wisconsin, applied and got accepted into the law school there. He became the president of the NAACP in Madison, Wisconsin. While he was there, many African American students and African students who came to the University of Wisconsin in Madison were unable to get housing off campus. And so the NAACP and my father decided to do a film about that. When he first went to Madison, he had a job as being a janitor at the state capitol, and then he went on to become a state representative and head of the Judiciary Committee at one point. And one of the first bills he got passed was a fair housing bill to make sure there's no discrimination in housing. He also passed a lot of civil rights bills, making sure that there's no employment discrimination. And to this very day, they have a museum across the street from the Capitol, the Wisconsin Historical Society, where they have a statue of my father. And if you press a button, you will hear him do a fair housing speech. He led many protests. He also sued the public schools in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which was segregated. The South had segregation by law, the North had segregation. It wasn't on the written books, but it was still segregation. And he fought and he won that lawsuit after 12 years. And Milwaukee Public School had to integrate. Sadly to say, there's still segregation in Milwaukee. It's one of the most segregated cities in the North. Sadly to say, the schools are still segregated. Moving forward, as a state legislator and as a civil rights activist, he had a lot of speeches that he gave. One of the speeches he gave was about Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin in Oshkosh, when the black students protested to get an African American studies department. They were all summarily suspended by the school. They went into the president's office, sat down and demanded to have black studies, and they were all arrested. But the white students who were in support of the black students and went to the president's office in support and solidarity with the black students, they weren't suspended. And my father represented a lot of the students, represented their demands. The chancellor said that the black students were rioting in his office, but again, it was only the black students who were suspended and not the whites. My father took the lawsuit up to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and he won a case saying you can't just suspend a student because you suspect the person of rioting or disturbance. You have to give them a mini trial. So that opened the door for due process for students' rights in the University of Wisconsin and Wisconsin. Basically, he taught us a lot. In fact, us children, the three children of him, myself, Rustum, my younger brother, and my older brother, Finn. And so we lived through some historic times. We're still living through historic times. And so we still protest. Well, thank you.